An actor's entire job basically boils down to one thing – acting. But look back at 2025's releases and you'll wonder where all the A-listers are hiding. More like Pirates of the Where Ya Been? Up until fairly recently, you could expect at least one Johnny Depp movie per year, usually 2 or 3. Admittedly, it's been a controversial few years for Depp, with the whole Amber Heard thing. He got dropped from Pirates of the Caribbean and Fantastic Beasts, then sort of dropped off the radar completely for a while. His main output lately has been voicing a character called Johnny Puff in a cartoon called Puffins, which is its own weird can of worms. His name is all over the project, but the episodes are just 5-minute animated shorts about puffins that don't speak. There's also a movie, Johnny Puff Secret Mission, which is the same thing for an hour and a half. We guess that's his voice? Either way, that was his last credit before 2025. It's not like he's totally left the biz behind or vice versa. He's currently filming a movie with Penelope Cruz called Day Drinker and is attached to play Ebenezer Scrooge in an adaptation of A Christmas Carol slated for 2026. Though, given the story, that's probably December 2026. Are we in for another largely Depp-less year? It's starting to look like it. After a massive hit like Barbie, we guess you can afford to lie low for a while. That's apparently what Ryan Gosling has been doing. Ken released precisely one movie in 2024, The Fall Guy. 2025 followed that with a completely empty schedule. It's no huge surprise if you've been following the guy's career, despite being an in-demand A-lister with box office receipts. Or maybe because of that, Gosling seems to like choosing his projects carefully. This isn't the first time he's vanished for a year or even longer. There was a 4-year gap between First Man and 2022's The Gray Man, where he didn't nab a single film credit. And true to form, Gosling's upcoming roles beyond 2025 are big tentpole productions. First up is Project Hail Mary, directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, and based on a book by the same guy who wrote The Martian. After that, he'll stay in space with an as-yet unnamed lead role in Star Wars Starfighter. In other words, you may not have seen Gosling recently, but you're about to see him everywhere, again. Ever since he laid down Mjolnir after Thor Love and Thunder, Chris Hemsworth hasn't exactly been taking it easy, but he's been taking it easier. Sure, he pushed his stunt work to the limit in Extraction 2, and figured out a fun way to talk in Furiosa, but he's been off the screen ever since. His only other 2024 acting roles happened behind a mic for Transformers 1 and the animated Disney Plus series What If? But taking it easy? Not quite. He executive produced a limited series called Limitless that turned the cameras on him as himself as he traveled the world to unlock the secrets to health. Beyond that, the fun never stops for Thor, or Tyler Rake for that matter. He's back with Earth's mightiest heroes in Avengers Doomsday in 2026, and is also in the pre-production stage for Extraction 3, with an unspecified release date. From an acting standpoint, Ryan Reynolds has been off the clock since Deadpool and Wolverine.
They're dumb, but they can fight.
Like Hemsworth, his only public-facing output in 2025 came in his roles as a producer and occasional narrator and appearance as himself. He's still documenting his ownership of Wrexham Football Club, along with Rob McElhenney in Welcome to Wrexham, and recently spun that off into another FX series called Necaxa, which follows a Mexican club of the same name. In this case, it's sort of the calm before the storm though. On the docket are no less than 10 upcoming projects, including a sequel to Detective Pikachu and a remake of Clue. After Avengers Endgame and Dolittle, Robert Downey Jr. took himself a big long break from acting. Can you blame him? He spent over a decade essentially being the face of the MCU, with 9 feature film appearances as Iron Man between that character's debut film and Endgame. Throw a couple of high-octane Sherlock Holmes movies into that same time span, and the little R&R must have been just a ticket. After that acting hiatus, he returned with one of the biggest movies of 2023, Oppenheimer, which won him an Oscar, and followed that with the HBO Max miniseries The Sympathizer. But after that, crickets again. Okay, granted, he appeared on screen in Fantastic Four First Steps for a grand total of 5 seconds as Dr. Doom. And yeah, granted, that really was him on set, even though he was entirely covered by a cloak and mask with his back to the camera. So technically, he put out something in 2025, but aside from that, fans will have to be on the lookout for Avengers Doomsday to really see him back in action.
Underoos!
Tom Holland vaulted into stardom on the shoulders of the MCU, and he's never looked back. Across 3 standalone Spider-Man films and as many crossovers and team-ups as Disney could fit him into, he's become synonymous with the web-slinger for the modern generation of moviegoer. But in 2025, he appeared in a 2-minute-long commercial for Legos and took the rest of the year off. Fortunately, 2026 will see him starring in what will without a doubt be 2 of the biggest films of the year. There's Spider-Man Brand New Day, of course. His previous standalone Spidey adventure, No Way Home, grossed a whopping $1.92 billion worldwide, and there's no indication that Brand New Day is going to disappoint at the box office either. That's supposed to hit theaters on July 31st, 2026. And just before that, he'll be starring in The Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's epic fantasy that's slated for a July 17th release. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and predict that July 2026 will be Tom Holland's month. You may know Karen Gillan best as Nebula in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, or you may know her best as Ruby Roundhouse in the Jumanji movies, or you may know her best as Amy Pond in Doctor Who. The point is, she's been amassing tons of fans for multiple roles since the 2000s, with a career that's only continued to grow since then. 2024 alone saw her in 4 starring and co-starring roles, but then 2025 rolled around and, like so many other big names, she didn't appear in a single thing. In mid-November 2025, Gillan shared several photos announcing the start of production for Jumanji 3, which is currently slated for a December 2026 release. At least as exciting as that is an upcoming role in a Highlander reboot from director Chad Stahelski, who helmed the 4 mainline John Wick films. Do we need a reboot? Not really, but those are probably the best hands that one could be in. Equal parts bankable blockbuster star and Oscar-caliber actor, Christian Bale has never been insanely prolific, instead curating his roles to focus on 1 or 2 performances a year. Lately, that output has slowed even more, with nothing hitting theaters in either 2024 or 2025. In fact, his last credited role was a voice for the English dub of 2023's The Boy and the Heron. Up next on the docket for Bale is a role as Frankenstein's monster in 2026's The Bride, along with a role in a crime-centered biopic called The Church of Living Dangerously, which is a true story about the pastor at a megachurch who started running drugs for a Mexican cartel. Definitely exciting times ahead for Bale fans, even if he's been out of the spotlight for a few years. Aside from the Fast and Furious movies, Vin Diesel's main franchises tend to fade into the background for years before resurging with a new installment. The last XXX movie came out in 2017, and the last Riddick movie was 4 years before that. But in the near future, they're all coming back. In varying stages of filming and production, he's slated to appear in Fast X Part 2, another XXX film, and another Riddick installment called Furia. He also teased a sequel to 2015's The Last Witch Hunter on Instagram. Groot seems to be a done deal for the time being, unfortunately. But all his other core franchises are going strong. Zendaya's been having a heck of a run for the past decade or so. The musician and actress got a big break when she was cast as MJ in Spider-Man Homecoming, then followed that with a critically acclaimed role in HBO's Euphoria. From there, the hits kept coming. But after a strong 2024, Zendaya stepped back from the limelight for a few months and ultimately didn't have any projects get released in 2025. Fortunately, she's making up for it in 2026. Euphoria is returning with its 3rd season in spring 2026. Like Tom Holland, she also has Spider-Man and The Odyssey in July. Finally, there's a little movie called Dune Part 3 coming out in December. It's going to be a massive year for Zendaya, that's for sure. Henry Cavill has been on sort of a wild ride as of late. No more Superman, no more Geralt. What's a Henry to do? 2024 was a busy year for Cavill, with back-to-back roles in Argyle and a Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, on top of that quick appearance in Deadpool and Wolverine.
The Cavalrine. The legends are true.
And 2026 and beyond are also gearing up to be busy years, so this short gap in Cavill's filmography was most likely just a result of filming schedules conspiring to miss 2025 completely. What's up next for Cavalrine? Well, there's that Highlander reboot with Karen Gillan, with Cavill set to play McLeod. That's the main guy in case you haven't watched him in a while. He's also starring in a Voltron movie, among others. And finally, he has another Guy Ritchie project on the way called In the Grey, which has actually been in scheduling hell for some time now. It's been in the works since 2023 and was originally supposed to get a January 2025 release. Apparently, the movie wasn't quite finished in time, so Lionsgate took it off their release schedule, then gave up distribution rights entirely. Right now, there's no telling when that movie will see the light of day. Hermione's been MIA since 2019, with no signs of a return on the horizon. Aside from directing and starring in an ad for Prada, Emma Watson's last big screen role was in Greta Gerwig's Little Women. Watson is one of those rare child stars who seem to be able to embrace acting while maintaining a healthy life outside of the industry. So, what's she been doing in those long years off the screen? According to an interview she gave to The Guardian in September 2025, she's been enjoying the heck out of life. She's enrolled at Oxford, working towards a master's in creative writing. She co-owns a gin brand with her brother, and she's very specifically not promoting movies. As she told The Guardian, being an actress for her is incredibly freeing. But the contractually obligated press tours and interviews and promotions that follow every movie are, in her words, soul-crushing.
It's very, very hard.
So for a while at least, it sounds like she's content to sit back and appreciate the perks of being a wallflower. Star Wars, Black Panther, Us, Lupita Nyong'o brings something powerful and different to every role.
What do you want?
Her output has been very consistent ever since that Oscar win for 12 Years a Slave, her first feature film no less. So that's why it's extra surprising that she hasn't been seen on screen since A Quiet Place Day 1 in June 2024. Of course, we know at least one of the likely reasons. Filming for The Odyssey started in February 2025 and ended that August. There's no telling right now how much time Nyong'o needed to shoot her scenes or where she shot them, considering principal photography took place on location in locales ranging from Greece to Iceland. But we're definitely starting to notice a pattern with the stars of The Odyssey and their 2025 release schedules.